I am your host, Fred Nettles, and this is The Segment.
Hey, what's up, Chris, man? I want to thank you for joining me on the segment today.
I want to thank you for inviting me. It's honestly a pleasure.
Okay, man, it's no problem at all. I also want to congratulate you on getting your master's in taxation
and data analytics. That's right.
Taxation and data analytics on May 11th at the University of Mississippi. So congratulations on that again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. I want to actually talk to you about just tell me a little bit about that journey and how you even got to what made you want to be an accountant.
So I never really wanted to be in accounting initially. Actually, when I was growing up, I thought I would be a lawyer, and then as I got older, I wanted to be a banker. So we have this bank in our town called Priority One Bank, and they do a lot of things in the community. So I knew that I liked math, and I knew that I liked everything about business, so I wanted to be a banker. I thought, well, I'll be a banker. But when I came on a college tour back in, I guess it will be February of 2014, that was my senior year of high school, I came to Ole Miss just to visit the campus. I had already applied, but I didn't know what I wanted to declare as far as a major. But my friend Allison, she was already an accountancy major. That's what she was thinking about doing. So we met with the dean of the accountancy school, and we met with the assistant to the dean. And they kind of convinced us that the accounting degree was the best way to go, because in the finance world, you can do things with a finance degree, but the accounting degree is kind of like the umbrella of the finance world.
Exactly.
So since accounting is, by book definition, the business of language, like once you learn accounting, you can do pretty much anything in the finance world. Just the way that the school has the courses set up and the way the overall education is.
Okay.
So I started doing that. I didn't know if I would like accounting or not. So you take your first accounting course at Ole Miss in the undergrad program sophomore year.
Okay.
Traditionally, you'll take it your sophomore year. Some people who are earlier on, they'll take it freshman year. So I took my first course sophomore year, and I ended up liking accounting. It was just like luck. I guess it was good that I declared something that I actually liked and I actually did good in. And so over the years, after the sophomore year, of course, it got tougher, and I had to work harder. So I've definitely developed a tenacity and a work ethic that I think that will help me be successful once I start work. And so, yeah. That's pretty much it. And getting into the master's program. So the data analytics part is new to the accountancy school. So the school has always offered 2 master's degrees, Master's of Accounting and a Master's of Tax. But KPMG has basically developed this curriculum of data and analytics that the school has used and offered to all students.
Okay.
KPMG has select students who will be coming to work for them who are on full scholarships to learn those particular skill sets as it relates to data analytics. But the rest of us, we get to get it for free, basically. And so I've had the opportunity to learn data analytics and pretty much like what it means. And then when I get my tax degree, because I love tax, I'll pretty much be able to have a Master's of Taxation and Data Analytics.
Okay, let me ask you this: you just covered a lot of ground in regards to tax and data analytics. And so, but tell me a little bit more about where are you from? McGee? Tell me a little bit more about where you're from and just how was life growing up.
People may think that I'm from McGee because I went to McGee probably starting in 5th grade. So I went to middle school there, I went to high school there, but I'm actually from Mendenhall, Mississippi, which is the next town over.
Okay.
Which is also like the rival town or rival city as far as football and basketball and all this kind of stuff is concerned. So yeah, I grew up in Mendenhall. I went to Mendenhall Elementary probably kindergarten through the first half of 5th grade. But believe it or not, I was a horrible child. So I stayed in trouble at school. Like, I was the child who talked back a lot. I was in fights. I did anything that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So by the time I got into 5th grade, I did that so much that the principal was like, well, the next time you get into trouble, we're going to have to send you to alternative school. So my mom was like, definitely that's not what she wanted to happen to me. And of course, I was going to get in trouble again because that's just who I was. So I went to McGee probably like in February of my 5th grade year. And believe it or not, the first week there, I got suspended for fighting. And then actually, after I came back, I was probably a model student after then. Something in my life, I got so tired of getting in trouble and so tired of being embarrassed that I started behaving in school. But I always made good grades. So now that was the thing. So the weird thing about me was I probably was suspended the most out of all the children in class, but I would win all the awards in my classes.
Okay. It's very interesting that you bring it up because I wanted to ask you what pushed you towards accounting from that early age, as far as like your inspiration, if you will, like your family, you have any sibling rivalries, et cetera, et cetera?
So I do have a sister. She is 5 years older than me. She's always been, well, growing up, she was older than me, so she was stronger than me. So she always would fight me and she would win because she was older. But honestly, and of course I have a close relationship with my mom and my dad, of course, too. But so growing up and being in trouble all the time, the only thing that I was really good at was school. So I really liked school. School was kind of like my escape. So I loved all subjects for the most part. I really loved math. And I also liked the reading when I was very young. But as I got older, I kind of got out of reading. But then sometimes in classes, if we had to read, I would.
Yeah. None of us never really like to read. Of course, read aloud. Coming up in school.
Yeah, because when you read aloud, like you're so focused on, well, how do I sound, not so much as how you're reading or what you're reading. So anyway, I love school. I always loved school. So I always knew that I wanted to go to college because that was like the next step. That was the next level. So that's what I wanted to do. And then there were lots of people in our community. So neither one of my parents went to school, but like my aunts on my mom's side went to school, and lots of people in my community had went to college. When I say school, I mean college. And so I was always inspired by them. And if I wanted help or needed help for anything, they would give me advice. Another good thing that we had at McGee that I guess I didn't mention, it was at Mendenhall too, is we had a grant at that time for our class in several school districts across the state called Gear Up Mississippi. And it was very instrumental to us because it like introduced us to like different careers. And then it would tell you like the salary, and then it would tell you like the education you needed and sort of skill sets that you needed to become whatever it is that you wanted to be.
Yeah.
And then they also gave us like free ACT waivers to like take the ACT free for like 2 times. And so they gave us a lot of information about college and college prep. So that kind of also inspired me to go to school, and accounting just came by chance.
Oh, yeah. So, Chris, while you were at, of course, undergrad and in the master's program at the University of Mississippi, of course, in the accountancy program, just give me your feelings on, of course, I guess just the racial dynamic, being maybe one of 2 African American males in the class of about 200 students. Just tell me more about that.
So I would say like when I first started at Ole Miss, I went to a high school that was pretty much mixed. So I wasn't like shocked when I came to school and there were like this immense amount of like people who were not black or of color at all. But I will say like, being in larger classrooms were more so intimidating for me. Now, I will say that when I started my Honors 101 class, I was the only African American in there. And we talked about very sensitive issues. Like we talked about race, and we talked about gender, and we talked about identity, and we talked about religion. And oftentimes it would be awkward because I would feel like as the only black person in the room that I had to give the black perspective.
Exactly.
And it was a lot of pressure on my chest because I would feel like I don't speak for all black people because I'm black, you're black, but we don't have the same experiences and we don't have the same viewpoints on every single thing.
Exactly.
So I couldn't necessarily speak for the black community. But what I found though is that I felt that way then, but now looking back, that was in my head. I had given myself that kind of own pressure just because I came in with these preconceived notions and preconceived ideas about my classmates, just given the history of the school and things that people say about it. And then when you actually walk into it in reality, you kind of have those things in the back of your mind. My classmates never made me feel that way. I just felt like that myself because I went in and I always second guess myself. Like I'm never overly confident.
You had a lot of pressure.
I did. I felt like there were a lot of pressure on my shoulders because I just felt like I had to give the black perspective. And I felt like I had to do it and I had to execute it and execute it like effortlessly. But it was a good experience to be in the classroom where I was the only African American because as I got older, I dealt with those situations better. So I didn't walk in classes and feel like, oh, well, I'm Chris and I'm here to give the black perspective. I could just give Chris's perspective. It wasn't always or necessarily about race. But of course, where race did present itself, which honestly it didn't in my technical accounting classes, but more so like when I took like honors courses and things where we had like conversations, because a lot of honors courses are conversation based. Yeah. Sometimes it will be helpful to my classmates to give a black perspective because some things that they wouldn't really know because they don't understand, they haven't had that experience. And a lot of times they will give me their experience and then we'll be able to feel like, okay, well, this is why X is Y and X, Y, and Z, whatever like that.
Exactly. Transitioning to the pro-Confederate rally that occurred in Oxford, Mississippi, on back in late February 23rd to be exact. Of course, at that time, the basketball team, of course, took a knee during the national anthem in protest to that Confederate rally, and tensions were pretty high, of course, in the Oxford community around that time. What was your perspective, your thought process throughout that entire thing?
You know, I've noticed, like, with social change in this country, it's always the same. I mean, even if you want to go back and look at women's rights up until the civil rights movement with people of color and race, people are always sort of like, there's always this high tension amongst people when people are forced in society to say, like, hey, this is the way we've been doing things, but this is not the right way to do things. People feel less than. People are truly not equal. And situations have to be addressed head on. You're going to always have extreme people. You have people who don't say enough or who kind of stay back or who kind of stay quiet. You're going to always have a mix of people. So when the situation was going on with the pro-Confederate flag rally and stuff, it was just funny because it's always the same reaction from people. I really like, though, that the basketball team used their freedom of expression to kind of say, this is where we stand. What I love about our campus is that we've had a bad history with race relations, but I think that people who aren't a part of the campus community don't realize that. I think from the top on down, at least from the few years that I've been at Ole Miss, that there's been this big push of inclusion of everybody, not only just race, gender, anything. There's been this big push for inclusion from the top. Mm-hmm. And so I think that on campus, from that top and on down, people are always pushing to be inclusive. So I'm glad that the basketball players did what they did, because it showed that that's who we are as a campus, and that's who we are as students, and that's who we are as people.
Exactly. And lastly, I want to ask you this. Do you feel like you have any pressure on being just a positive role model as an African American male in your community?
So it's weird. I don't think of myself as a role model, but I guess I may be, just because I'm pretty sure there are people that I looked up to that I never told that I looked up to. So I'm pretty sure there are people out there who look up to me just like I looked up to other people. So what I try to do is I just try to be my best self. I think when I was younger, I thought being my best self meant being perfect. But now that I'm older, I think being my best self is being my true self. And so being able to be true, I feel like I can relate to other people who are going through real situations and real things. So I just try to be me, and I try to be honest about my experiences, and I try to strive to realize my dreams. Because while my dreams may not be someone else's who look up to me, I want them to realize that anything that they want to do, they can do it.
So Chris, where do you see yourself in 5 years in regards to, I don't know, philanthropy projects within the community, within your career, things like that?
So in 5 years, usually in public accounting, so I'll be working at PricewaterhouseCoopers starting in July.
Where's that located?
So PricewaterhouseCoopers is a nationwide firm. So we have offices all over the nation, really all over the world. But in the U.S., we're all over the nation, but I'll be in the Atlanta, Georgia office. Okay. Southeast market. So in 5 years, usually the best people at the firm usually make manager around that time. So I hope that I have at least made manager if I'm still at the firm. I don't know what I'll be doing, but I hope that in some way, honestly, I could be doing something that gives back in a meaningful way. Probably something in like with children or like with school and education, because I'm really passionate about that, because I told you I really do like school. That was always my escape. I love learning. I think it's what it is. It's like you start to feel like this joy when you learn something. Like, say for instance, when I was in math classes in high school and Miss May would be teaching us something, whatever it may be, and while I was getting it, I would be so happy.
Who was Miss May?
So Miss May is a teacher who is in McGee. She taught for like 30 or 40 years. So everyone know who she is. She's taught people's parents, grandparents, and she was passionate about math, and I love math. And when she would teach math, my weird self would be in there just happy. I could have a bad day. Yeah. But when I make it to advanced algebra or algebra 2 or whatever I was taking her for, I was happy when I left. And I feel that same way about like tax. So even in the accountancy program, when I take my tax classes, I'm so happy. Like my mind, I'm thinking about things critically. And it makes me happy whenever I'm able to get to a solution, or if the teacher said something that I was also thinking, or she kind of guides my thinking on how I should be thinking about specific topics. And I'm like, okay, so this is how I should approach it. That kind of stuff makes me happy. So I hope that I may be in the classroom, maybe I'll volunteer with children in some sort of way, helping them. It doesn't have to even be about money or finance. It can just be about anything. Maybe they need inspiration. Maybe they need guidance on how they're going to think about who they are as people, and then what their purposes may be. I've always said that I wanted to get a PhD, but the only reason why I want to get a PhD is I don't want to research, and I know that that's part of the job. I want to get a PhD mostly so I can teach, because I really love teaching. And I really love learning. And I think that if I'm a PhD and I'm researching and I'm teaching, then I'll be able to be a lifelong learner. And I can be in like a classroom environment, so it's more dynamic than sort of like being at the office and learning new things just from experiences with clients. And I kind of like more people interaction.
Okay.
And the truth is, in tax, we interact with each other and we interact with our clients. But it's not the same as like if you're in a classroom. I feel like a classroom is kind of like a no boundaries type place. Like,
and it's kind of like you're in this 4 walls and 20 chairs, and you just like a I don't want to say jail, but it's kind of like you're just stuck there.
At work or at school?
No, as far as a classroom.
No, so in a classroom, like, it's what you make, and I think it starts with the teacher. But like a classroom, there are truly endless possibilities. So like you can talk about everything from the topic that you're supposed to be talking about to things that are going on currently, whether it's on campus or in your life or just in society, period. And you can go to talking about, you can really like find out what your purpose is or put a nail on who you are or the things that you want to do in the classroom. Because it's like, it's limitless. I mean, you can go from everything. Technical, personal, anything. So I feel like it's limitless. And that's what I love about a classroom. And that's what my classroom experiences have been like since I was younger, especially with the subjects that I like.
Okay. Lastly, Chris, I want to ask you, do you have any words of inspiration for the next Christopher Feazell?
Well, actually, Fred, thinking about that question, if I could think of myself when I was younger and it's something that I needed to be told, I would tell myself that 2 things. For one, trust the process and that life is truly a process. I wish, so I didn't know that failure was a part of success. I honestly didn't. I just thought that success was just success. But you have to fail in order to be successful. And in fact, you can't be successful without failing. That's an integral part of the learning process. And I didn't learn that until I was much older. So I would tell myself to trust the process. And I would add to that to be confident and know that God's word is true, that you can be all that he said that you can be, you can do all that he said that you can do, you can have all that he said that you can have.
One time for the underdog. We the one that got the power when it's time to make a change. One time for the underdog. Yeah. One time for the underdog. Yeah. One time for the underdog. Yeah. One time for the underdog.